You've probably been told your whole life to drink more water. 8 glasses a day. Stay hydrated. It's good for your kidneys, good for your heart, good for everything. And you believed it. So you drank more water. And now you're waking up 2, 3, maybe 4 times every single night to use the bathroom. Exhausted, frustrated, wondering what on earth is going wrong with your body. Here's what nobody told you. It's not that you're drinking too much water. The problem is how your body is handling that water. And there are specific biological reasons, especially after the age of 60, why the same hydration habits that worked perfectly for you at 40 are now quietly destroying your sleep. I'm Dr. Franklin, and today I'm going to walk you through something that most general practitioners simply don't take the time to explain. 4 hidden water mistakes that are directly triggering your nighttime bathroom trips, including one that has nothing to do with how much. You're drinking it all and everything to do with something happening silently inside your body while you sleep. By the time we reach mistake number 1, you will understand your own body in a completely different way. And I want to be honest with you right now. Number 1 is going to surprise you, possibly even frustrate you a little because it's something that was completely within your control this whole time. But first, before we go any further, I need you to do one thing. Drop a comment below and tell me how many nights this week did you wake up more than once to use the bathroom. And if you're over 65, I especially want to hear from you. Your experience matters, and I'll be reading these. Let's get into it. Mistake 4. The wrong beverages at the wrong time. Mistake number 4, and this one catches almost every single patient off guard the first time I bring it up. When most people think about what's causing their nighttime bathroom trips, they think about the volume of liquid. They're drinking. So they start cutting back less water in the evening. Maybe skip that evening cup of tea. But here's what they forget. Not all beverages behave the same way inside your body. Some drinks, even in small amounts, actively interfere with your body's natural nighttime shutdown process. And if you're reaching for any of these in the hours before bed, you could be undermining everything else you're doing, right? Let me explain the biology. Your body produces a hormone called ADH, antidiuretic hormone, in the evening. ADH is essentially your body's internal slowdown signal to your kidneys. It tells them the person is going to sleep soon. Let's reduce urine production. Let's concentrate what we make. Let's give the bladder a rest. This hormone is fragile, and it has 2 very specific enemies that most people consume every single evening without thinking twice. The first enemy is caffeine. Caffeine is a diuretic, meaning it actively increases urine production. But more importantly, it directly suppresses ADH. This mechanism is well established in pharmacological research. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors in the hypothalamus, directly suppressing ADH secretion and increasing kidney filtration rate, a process thoroughly documented in peer-reviewed renal physiology literature. So that 4 p.m. coffee, that herbal tea, that secretly contains caffeine, that dark chocolate you had after dinner, all of it is working against your body's natural nighttime system. The second enemy is alcohol. I know this one is uncomfortable, but I'd be doing you a disservice if I avoided it. Even 1 glass of wine with dinner measurably suppresses ADH secretion within minutes. Research published in the American Journal of Physiology. Renal physiology confirms that alcohol directly inhibits ADH release from the pituitary gland, with effects beginning almost immediately after the first drink enters your bloodstream. What that means practically is that alcohol tells your kidneys to keep producing urine even as your body is trying to wind down. You fall asleep thinking everything is fine, and then 90 minutes later you're stumbling to the bathroom. Sound familiar? The action step here is simple. Before bed, keep your final beverage to 4 to 6 ounces of plain warm water or a genuinely caffeine-free herbal tea. Think chamomile or peppermint. And time it at least 2 hours before your head hits the pillow. But here's why mistake number 4 is only the 4th most important thing on this list. Because even if you nail this completely, there are three deeper biological forces still working against you. Forces that most people have never even heard of. Stay with me. Mistake number 3 is where things start getting really interesting. And before we begin, take a second and tell me your name and where you're tuning in from. I go through the comments and I genuinely want to know who I'm speaking to and supporting here. Mistake number 3, ignoring your kidney's internal clock. Here's something they don't teach you in school, and honestly something that even some doctors forget to mention. Your kidneys are not the same organ at 8 a.m. as they are at 8 p.m. They operate on a circadian rhythm, a built-in biological clock that fundamentally changes how they process fluid depending on what time of day it is. During the daytime, particularly between the hours of roughly 6 a.m. and 3 p.m., your kidneys are operating at peak efficiency. Your cortisol levels are elevated, your renal blood flow is optimized, and your body is essentially built for high-volume fluid processing. This is when your kidneys want to work hard. This is when fluid moves through your system efficiently and ends up in the toilet during normal daytime hours when you barely notice it. But as afternoon turns into evening, everything shifts. Cortisol drops, ADH rises, renal blood flow slows, your kidneys are literally downshifting, preparing for nighttime rest cycle. Here's the problem. Millions of people are doing the exact opposite of what their kidneys need. Think about a typical day for many adults over 60. Morning is rushed. Coffee counts as hydration, right? Lunch is busy. Maybe a glass of water. By mid-afternoon, they start feeling that familiar dry mouth, that slight fatigue, so they drink. Then at dinner, they have water. Then something warm before bed. Then maybe a glass of water because they read somewhere that you should stay hydrated before sleep. They've essentially taken most of their daily fluid intake and delivered it right into the window when their kidneys are trying to slow down. The International Continence Society, the leading global body in urology research, identifies evening fluid restriction and front-loaded hydration as the single most effective first-line behavioral intervention for Nocturia ahead of medication in most cases. Their clinical guidelines updated by Hashim and colleagues and widely published in peer-reviewed urology journals make clear that timing matters as much as total volume. And when you look at why, the biology is unambiguous. Your kidneys are primed to process fluid efficiently during the active daytime hours. And any significant fluid delivered after that window becomes overnight bladder work. I want you to really absorb that. Not less water, just earlier water. I had a patient, I'll call her Margaret, a 72-year-old retired nurse from Georgia. She came to me convinced she had a serious bladder condition. She was waking up 3 times a night, sometimes 4. She was meticulous about her health. She exercised, ate well, took her medications properly, but her hydration pattern was what I call a back-heavy pattern. Almost nothing in the morning, moderate at lunch, and then significant fluid intake from 5 p.m. onward because that was when she finally relaxed and sat down for the day. We kept her total daily water intake. Exactly the same around 2 lurs, but moved 65% of it to the morning and early afternoon. We put her fluid cutoff at 7:30 p.m. Within 4 weeks, she went from 3 or 4 nighttime voids to 1, sometimes 0. She told me, "I've been a nurse my whole life, and nobody ever told me this." For those of you over 65, this matters even more. Research published in Advances in Chronic Kidney Disease has confirmed that the circadian rhythm of kidney function weakens with age. Specifically, the normal pattern of nighttime ADH secretion that suppresses urine production during sleep becomes disrupted in older adults. The drop-off in nighttime urine production that younger adults experience, older adults experience it less dramatically. Meaning your body's built-in protection against nighttime bathroom trips is genuinely less robust at 70 than it was at 40. And that makes your behavioral timing of hydration even more powerful as a compensating strategy. Your practical takeaway: get a large glass of water on your nightstand, but for the morning, not the night. Before coffee, before anything, drink it. Then aim for consistent sipping throughout the morning. And set a 2 p.m. checkpoint to ask yourself, have I had most of my water today? If not, now is the time. After 5 p.m., you're in taper mode. But even if you do this perfectly, there's a deeper issue that may still be driving your nighttime trips, and it's one that is almost never talked about in mainstream health content. Mistake number 2 is coming up, and when you understand this, the piece of the puzzle that's been missing will click into place. If you're still here with me and finding this helpful, take a moment to type 2 in the comments. It lets me know you're watching and getting value from this. Mistake number 2, your blood vessels are leaking and you don't know it. I want to talk about something called vascular permeability, and I promise I'll make this simple because understanding this one concept might genuinely transform your nights. As we age, the walls of our smaller blood vessels, the capillaries, naturally become more permeable, more leaky in plain English. And this leakiness has a very specific consequence that almost nobody connects to nighttime urination. During the day, when you're upright and active, fluid is constantly leaking out of those small vessels into the surrounding soft tissue, particularly in your legs, your feet, and your lower abdomen. Your body manages this during waking hours through movement and normal circulation. But here's where it goes wrong. The moment you lie down at night, gravity shifts. That fluid that spent all day pooling quietly in your tissue suddenly has a clear path back into your bloodstream. Your circulation picks it up, sends it to your kidneys, and your kidneys, doing exactly what they're designed to do, filter it and send it to your bladder. The result, you fall asleep, feeling completely fine. And then, somewhere between 45 minutes and 2 hours after lying down, you have an urgent, pressing need to urinate. The bladder didn't fill gradually. It was suddenly flooded by that repositioned fluid. Researchers call this nocturnal polyuria, driven by positional fluid redistribution. And clinical literature consistently identifies nocturnal polyuria as the single most common driver of nocturia in older adults, accounting for the majority of cases in those over 65, according to reviews published in Stat Pearl's NIH and the Journal of Urology. Not a bladder problem, not a prostate problem, not a kidney disease, a vascular permeability and fluid redistribution problem. Now, here's where it connects to water. 2 specific hydration habits dramatically worsen this effect. The first is high sodium intake. Sodium causes your tissues to hold on to more fluid than they otherwise would. The CDC reports that the average American consumes around 3,400 milligrams of sodium per day, well above the recommended 2,300 milligads. And most people don't even realize where it's coming from. It's not the salt shaker. It's bread, canned goods, deli meat, sauces, restaurant food. All of it adds up. And all of it means more fluid trapped in your tissue during the day. More fluid to flood your bladder when you lie down at night. The second hydration factor is afternoon fluid intake. The more fluid you take in during the late afternoon and evening, the more raw material is available for that tissue level pooling. When you combine evening fluid intake with high sodium and age-related vascular permeability, you create a perfect storm. Your body has simply been dealt a bad hand, and you didn't even know the game was being played. A landmark study from Nagasaki University, led by Dr. Tomohiro Matsuo, and published in Neurology and Urodynamics in 2019, enrolled 321 adults with high salt intake and documented nocturia. Participants who successfully reduced their daily salt from an average of 10.7 gram down to 8 grams saw their nightly bathroom trips drop from 2.3 to 1.4. That's nearly a 40% reduction from one dietary change alone. A complementary 2020 study by Yoshiawa and colleagues, also published in Neurology and Urodynamics, confirmed the biological chain directly. Higher daily salt intake correlated significantly with greater leg edema at 5 p.m. and higher nocturnal urine volume overnight, providing the mechanistic evidence for why both sodium reduction and leg elevation reinforce each other. Here is what you do. Starting today, spend 1 week becoming a label reader. Pay attention to sodium in your bread, your sauces, your canned products. Aim to get your daily sodium below 2,300 millimole. If you can get to 1,800 madness, even better. And here's a bonus strategy that I call the afternoon drain. Somewhere between 3 and 5 p.m., before your evening fluid cutoff kicks in, lie down on your couch or your bed with a pillow under your calves for 20 to 30 minutes. Elevate your legs above the level of your heart. This allows your circulatory system to pull that pulled tissue fluid back into your bloodstream while you're still awake, so your kidneys and bladder can process it during waking hours instead of at 2 a.m. It sounds almost too simple, but the physiology is ironclad, and the patient results are remarkable. I had a patient, I'll call him Harold, a 78-year-old retired contractor from Tennessee. He'd tried medication for Nocturia for over a year with modest results. When I did a 24-hour urine collection, his nocturnal urine output was 71% of his total daily volume. For context, normal is closer to 30 to 35%. His body was essentially holding fluid all day and releasing it entirely at night. We addressed his sodium. He was averaging over 4,200 milers daily, mostly from restaurant meals and canned soups. We added the afternoon leg elevation and we adjusted his fluid timing. Within 8 weeks, his nocturnal output dropped to 48% of his total. His nightly bathroom trips went from 4 to 1 or 2. His wife told me it saved their marriage. That's not an exaggeration. Sleep deprivation, erodus, everything. But as significant as mistake number 2 is, and it is extremely significant, there is one more layer, one more mistake that sits underneath all of this. And it's the one that most people have never even considered. Mistake number 1 is not about what you drink. It's not exactly about when you drink. It's about what type of hydration your body can actually use, and why most of the water you drink might be passing right through you without doing what you think it's doing. Don't go anywhere. If you're still here with me and finding this helpful, take a moment to type 1 in the comments. It lets me know you're watching and getting value from this. Mistake number 1, the quality of hydration, the one nobody talks about. All right, here we are. Mistake number 1. And I want to be genuinely honest with you. This is the concept that in my years of practice has produced the most dramatic overnight improvements in patients who had tried everything else and were still struggling. And it starts with a question that sounds deceptively simple. When you drink water, does your body actually retain it? Most people assume that if they drink water, their body uses it. And in a basic sense, that's true. But there's a more nuanced version of this story that has enormous implications for nighttime urination, specifically cellular hydration versus urinary excretion. Stay with me here. Your body doesn't just want water. It wants water in a specific context. Specifically, water paired with electrolytes, most critically potassium and magnesium, which are essential for your cells to actually absorb and retain fluid. When you drink plain water in large quantities without adequate electrolyte support, your kidneys, being the efficient organs they are, register dilution of your blood's electrolyte concentration and respond by increasing urine output to restore balance. This is called osmotic diuresis, and it's a real phenomenon. You can drink a liter of plain water and have a significant portion of it end up in your bladder within 60 to 90 minutes. Not because your bladder is overactive, but because your cells couldn't absorb the fluid and your kidneys had to excrete it. Now, here's where this intersects with nighttime urination in an extremely important way. Research has consistently confirmed that older adults are at significantly higher risk of magnesium deficiency due to reduced intestinal absorption, decreased bone-stored magnesium, and drug interactions. A review cited by the European Society for Clinical Nutrition confirms that magnesium requirements do not decrease with age, but the ability to absorb and retain it does. This gap matters for bladder health specifically because magnesium helps regulate the detritus. Muscle. The muscle that controls bladder contractions. A prospective randomized double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial examining magnesium supplementation in women with bladder symptoms found that 40% of participants taking magnesium reported meaningful improvements in urgency, nocturia, and incontinence events compared to just 16.7% in the placebo group. That is a clinically meaningful difference driven by a single nutrient correction. Let me put this in plain language. Some of you reading this are drinking the right amount of water at the right times. And your nighttime bathroom trips are still a problem. The missing variable might not be behavioral at all. It might be biochemical. Your body literally cannot absorb and retain the fluid you're giving it efficiently. What does this mean practically? First, include potassium-rich foods consistently in your diet. Bananas, sweet potatoes, avocado, leafy greens. These aren't just good nutrition. They directly support your body's ability to absorb and hold water at the cellular level. Second, look at your magnesium intake. Most adults over 60 are below the recommended daily intake of 320 to 420 milliners. Dietary sources include pumpkin seeds, almonds, dark leafy greens, and whole grains. Talk to your doctor about whether a magnesium glycinate supplement makes sense for you. This is the form most bioavailable to the body and least likely to cause digestive discomfort. Third, consider switching some of your plain water intake to mineral-rich water or adding a small pinch of a low-sodium electrolyte powder to your morning hydration. Not a sugary sports drink, specifically a low-sugar or no-sugar electrolyte product with real mineral content. And fourth, space your water out more deliberately, rather than drinking a large glass all at once, which spikes your blood's water to electrolyte ratio and triggers that excretion response. Sip consistently throughout the morning. Small amounts. More frequently, give your cells time to absorb. I'll tell you about one more patient. Her name was Evelyn, 81 years old, retired school teacher from North Carolina. She had done everything right. Fluid cut off at 7 p.m., front-loaded her hydration, reduced her sodium, did the afternoon leg elevation. She went from 5 nighttime trips to 2, which was improvement, but she was still frustrated. When I ran a comprehensive metabolic panel, her serum magnesium was at the very bottom of the normal range. Technically normal, but functionally inadequate for optimal cellular hydration. We added dietary magnesium sources and a low-dose magnesium glycinate supplement under medical supervision. Within 6 weeks, Evelyn went from 2 nighttime voids to 0 or 1 on most nights at 81 years old. She said to me, "I've slept this well since I was in my 40s. That is what's possible when you address all 4 layers. Let me pull this all together for you. Mistake number 4, the wrong beverages. Caffeine and alcohol in the evening, suppressing your natural nighttime hormone and keeping your kidneys in production mode when they should be resting. Mistake number 3, ignoring your kidneys' internal clock, drinking the bulk of your fluid in the afternoon and evening, right when your kidneys are winding down instead of front-loading your hydration in the morning when your body is built to process it. Mistake number 2, the silent fluid redistribution problem. High sodium diet and afternoon inactivity, allowing fluid to pool in your leg tissue all day, then flood your bladder the moment you lie down at night. And mistake number 1, the quality of your hydration. Drinking plain water in large quantities without adequate electrolyte support, meaning your body excretes more than it absorbs, driving unnecessary trips to the bathroom, regardless of everything else you're doing. These 4 mistakes work together. They compound each other. And the good news is that addressing them together creates a compounding improvement that no single medication or intervention can typically match. You don't need surgery. You don't need expensive treatments. You need accurate information about how your body actually works. And now you have it. Now I want to hear from you. Out of these 4 mistakes, which one hit closest to home? Was it the timing, the sodium, the beverage choices? Or was that cellular hydration piece the one that finally made something click? Leave your answer in the comments. I genuinely read them. And if your question is detailed enough, it may become the subject of my next video. If this video helped you, please hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm that this information needs to reach more people who are losing sleep and don't know why. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We are going into depth on the specific foods and lifestyle changes that most doctors don't prescribe, but that consistently produce dramatic improvements in sleep, bladder health, and overall longevity after 60. And please share this with someone you care about. Share it with a spouse, a parent, a friend, someone who is waking up night after night thinking their body is broken. It isn't broken. It just needs the right information. I'll see you in the next.